Hi, friends. Before we start the show, I wanted to make you aware of a free opportunity that I'm offering. It's a free masterclass called Finding Peace in Turbulent Times. The survey results that I received from my community survey were very clear. So many people are feeling overwhelmed, they're feeling anxious and stressed. And we're living in a really heavy world right now. There's a lot, especially if you're living in the United States, a lot going on politically, financially. It feels like there's just a constant cycle of bad news, and it's really causing people to feel destabilized, to feel a lot of stress and anxiety, exhaustion, overwhelm. But in yogic philosophy, we believe that not only can we find peace, but actually we are the peace. We are peace. And that peace resides inside of us. And it is there for us no matter what, no matter what's going on in the world around us, we can always turn inward to access that peace. And it is from that space of peace and calm and groundedness that we take action. And when we take action from the space of peace and calm and grounded connection, that's when we can take really impactful, effective action, whether it be just in our own homes, in our jobs, with our children, or, if you're working on something on a larger scale that will impact the world. All of those decisions need to come from the place of your center, reaccessing your center. And that is where you will find all of the answers. And so, if you've been feeling overwhelmed, if you've been feeling powerless, if you've been struggling with stress or anxiety and it's impacting your mind, your body, your relationships, your work, your overall well being, then this is the masterclass for you. You are not alone. As I mentioned, the survey results were very clear. So, you are not alone if that's how you're feeling. But I promise you, you can cultivate inner resiliency and calm and stability despite what's going on around you. It just takes a little bit of practice. And doing it in community is, there's something really beautiful about it. It's why to this day, while I'm a yoga teacher, I could easily do yoga at home and create my own sequences, that I still go to yoga classes because there is something really powerful in the energy of like-minded people coming together for the purpose of their growth and development, for the purpose of their connection to their inner selves. And it's just, there's some sort of magic that occurs there. So experience the magic, be part of it. Come to this 90-minute free masterclass on May the 2nd. It's at 4:30 p.m. in the afternoon. We're going to talk a little bit. We're going to practice some tools based in yogic wisdom and modern mindfulness. We're going to regulate our nervous systems, and we're going to learn how to create a sense of grounded peace and internal connection, no matter what's happening around you. And you will be able to come back to that over and over again in your life. So if you're craving relief, if you're craving balance, if you're craving a way forward in the mess, then please come join us. If you can't make it live, please sign up anyway, because I will send you the recording afterward. And if this is something that people really enjoy and want to see more of, then I will do more of these types of workshops in the future. So this is our first one. Come be a trailblazer, meet other like-minded women like yourself, find some inner peace and stability, and we'll have some fun. Okay, enjoy this episode. Hey, gorgeous souls, and welcome to the Midlife Purpose Project. I'm your host, Katie Farinas, a yoga teacher and soul purpose coach. And just like you, I'm navigating the wild, beautiful, and sometimes messy terrain of midlife. This is the space where we unpack the shifts happening in our bodies, minds, and souls. We're diving deep into the questions that rise up when everything seems to be changing. Think of this as your toolkit for making sense of this powerful phase of life. We'll have honest conversations, belly laughs, maybe a few tears, and a whole lot of growth. We'll hear from experts on topics that matter to you in midlife, and I'll share yogic philosophy that has been helping humans live with more skill and ease for centuries. Because here's the truth. Everything you've been through, every challenge, every joy, every heartbreak, has been training you for this. You're not broken, you're not lost, you're stepping into your power. So come on in, embrace the mess, the beauty, and the absolute magic of midlife. Let's journey together. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I am so excited about today's episode. I have with me Adam Dorsay, and we are discussing his book called Super Psyched: Unleash the Power of the 4 Types of Common Connection and Live the Life You Love. Adam is a therapist, and he has spent more than 20,000 hours with patients ranging from boardroom executives to gang members. And he says that in all of that time, he found a common thread. And that common thread is that they all struggled with this unshakable unhappiness. And that he has found the solution is creating deep bonds of connection, things that truly matter to us in our lives. And he's experienced this himself personally. And so he felt really strongly about creating this book. Adam is also the host of his own podcast. He is a speaker, and he co-created a resiliency program. So I will put all of his information in the show notes so you can find about all the things that he has done and is doing and ways of contacting him. But today we are going to talk all about connection, which is one of my favorite topics. You know, the 3 pillars of this podcast are purpose, peace, and connection. And I just loved having this deep conversation about connection with Adam. And I absolutely adored his book. As you'll hear me mention in the episode, I have dog-eared more than 70% probably of the book. I've written notes everywhere. I'm going back to parts. I'm sharing parts of it with my husband and with my children. It's just a fantastic deep dive into what connection really is and why it's so important, and the many variations of connection. You know, connection can be simplified as, you know, I'm connected to my partner or my family or my kids. But this book takes such a deeper look at what the meaning of connection is and the different ways that we can experience it in our lives, and the different ways that we actually really need to experience it in our lives if we're going to feel fulfilled, if we're going to feel like our life has deep meaning. And it's something I don't think we talk about enough. I know that everyone right now is searching for community. Community is a buzzword. It's a hot topic. People feel like they need more community in their lives. And I 100% agree with that. But I think that there are more avenues to connection than what we're just talking about, which is just that community piece. And Adam really, really does a great job of explaining, not only actually explaining the different avenues of connection and why they're important, he gives practical tips on how we can increase our sense of connection in these different areas of our lives. And so he gives you, you know, ways of actually making this happen, practical ways of making this happen in your own life. This is research backed. It is just, you know, like in many other interviews I've had where someone comes on talking about something that I'm really passionate about. There's a lot of research behind it, and there is also a lot of overlap with yoga philosophy. So this is no different, and we talk a little bit about that in our interview. So I hope you enjoy it. I want to hear your feedback. Please email me if you're listening on Spotify, comment right on the show. You can always message me on Instagram. Any way you want to get to me, I would love to hear what you think of this show. And I will be back at the end to give you your mindful moment for the week. If you haven't signed up for my newsletter, please do. I'll put the link in the show notes because I will take a deep dive into this book in my show notes. Adam and I only had a certain amount of time, obviously, to have this conversation. So I will be giving you just a little more information in the newsletter and taking the topics that we talked about on the show and going a little bit deeper with them. So if this is a topic that is really of interest to you, sign up for my newsletter and you will get that in your inbox by next week. All right, guys, have a great listen. All right, Adam Dorsay, welcome to the show. I am beyond excited for this conversation. You and I were talking a little bit offline before I hit record, and I recently read your book. I have dog-eared nearly every page. I have written so many notes in the front and the back of the book that I'm almost out of space. I am obsessed. And
Oh,
you really take a deep dive into one of the pillars of my life, of this show, of my coaching, which is connection. And I just can't wait to have this conversation with you. So, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Katie, your hospitality is tops. One of the best green room conversations I've ever had.
Oh, thank
And
you.
the idea that you immersed so deeply into the book and dog-eared so much really tells me that I wrote this book for you and people like you
Yeah.
who really value connection. And I just couldn't be more excited to get into this conversation.
I truly feel so blessed because I guess it was someone from your team who reached out to me.
Right.
And I just feel like it was like kismet. It was meant to be serendipitous, whatever you want to say. Like I'm not sure you and I would have crossed paths. I don't know how she found me. But I'm just really grateful that it happened.
Yeah, I'm so glad I hired an agent. Kelsey Butts is her name, and she's fantastic. So yeah, it's thanks to her
Yeah,
that she brokered the deal and got New Jersey and California together for this
that's right.
call.
That's right. So tell us a little bit about yourself and then tell us what motivated you to write this book.
Sure, I'm a psychologist in private practice. I'm married, very happily so, to two sons, and of course a pet lover. As you can tell from the book, I used to
Right.
actually volunteer at the Humane Society to run their grief program for people who'd lost a
Mm,
pet, which has buckets of tears like I've never seen before.
yeah.
Given two TEDx talks, one on men and emotions. Yes, they have them. Another on friendship and adulthood, a very important topic that came
Yes.
about as a result of seeing so many people longing for friends and how friends kind of fall away over time and how
Yeah.
crucial they are. Um, let's see, I ran a program that I co-created at Facebook for 4 years for resiliency for the counterterrorism and child safety teams and their trust and safety departments. Continue to do that kind of work with DigitalOcean, and I love it. So if anybody needs resiliency work done, just give me a call. Do a lot of keynotes, and
Mhm.
like you, I'm also a certified coach. I'm an executive coach and podcaster. Just hit my
Yeah.
250th episode, and of course, the author of this book that we're talking about. So,
Yes.
connection itself, you asked a great question, and it is the question: why? Why
Hmm.
connection?
Hmm.
And I can say after providing approximately 20,000 hours of individual and couples psychotherapy, after hosting well over 200 people on my podcast, brilliant people, mind you, who blow
Hmm.
my mind, the word connection just kept showing up.
Yeah.
And to borrow a thought from the great Irv Yalom out of Stanford, he said that every book he ever wrote bit him in the ass. And I trusted that when the book that I needed to write showed up, it would bite
Hmm.
me in the ass. And this word connection was basically that pit bull that took hold of me and said, write me. I'm not
Yeah.
letting go until you do. The word connection itself, like, what is that? If you look it up in the dictionary, it says something akin to like when two train cars are hooked up. I don't think that's what everybody's talking about. I looked to the American Psychological Association for a definition. The definition was also similarly lackluster. It was okay.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I did was I recruited 10 of my licensed mental health professional friends to help me on a working definition of what connection actually is. I wanted the 10 people because I wanted it to be as valid as possible as a
Right.
working definition.
Yeah.
To break down well over a page worth of content, it's aliveness, it's vitality, it's what brings us alive.
Hmm.
And it's life force, I would say. So
Yeah.
when you hear, I'm just going to bust out Stairway to Heaven. You hear Stairway to Heaven for the first time in your life. I don't care
Hmm.
how old you are. You're probably, now some people might not, but I'm going to guess 90% of people feel something
Hmm.
akin to that form of
Hmm.
connection. When you meet somebody who is like your future best friend and
Yeah.
you're having that moment of George and Jerry at the diner where the repartee is just like, or the rapport is just unbelievable.
Yes.
That's that aliveness. And like
Yes.
when you see a comedian who causes you to double over,
Yeah.
for me, it
Yeah.
would be somebody like John Mulaney, Chelsea Peretti, one of these great comedians that I just cannot get enough of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this is a form of connection. And what made me want to write it is connection itself appears to be the precursor to everything in life we want. I'll give one piece of evidence to that. First of all, our brains are wired to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And the opposite of connection, disconnection, is at the heart of virtually every diagnosis in the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and
Mm.
Statistical Manual that we mental health practitioners use to make
Yeah.
formulate diagnoses. My apologies.
Mm-hmm.
For example, when we are depressed, we are not connecting with the present because we are often thinking about the past. When we are
Mm-hmm.
anxious, we are often disconnected from the present because we may be future tripping
Mm-hmm.
and worried about the future. When we are traumatized, we often dissociate, which is a very big form of disconnection and
Mm-hmm.
massive, like psychosis
Mm-hmm.
is a disconnection from reality itself. So if
Yeah.
disconnection is at the heart of everything we want, it seems logical. And I do believe from the bottom of my heart and the top of my brain that connection is at the heart of everything we do
Yeah.
want.
Yes. And I wholeheartedly believe that as well. I have to take a tiny little sidebar. I didn't want to interrupt you, but you were mentioning something about men and connection and emotions. I have screenshotted
Ah,
so many snippets of this book to my husband. I'm like, you have to read this book.
oh my God.
Uh,
Thank you.
he's so tired probably of my snippet
That's
screenshot.
awesome.
So that's a total sidebar, but yes, everything you said, I wholeheartedly agree. And the thing is that I think a lot of people think about connection as just with other people. And what I loved about this book is that you're breaking down the connection into four things, and only really one of those things was specifically related to connecting to other people. You start off with connecting to yourself, which I believe is the foundation. It's the root system of connecting to everything else. And it's the one that I think we talk about the least and pay the least amount of attention to and give the least amount of love. But how do we connect to others if we're not connected to ourselves?
I love it. And you, as a nurse, know this better than anybody. When somebody is in severe pain, I'll go with even moderate pain. Let's say you come in with a massive head cold, like you just feel like one of those advertisements on TV where your whole face is just a nose, and that's all you can think about. I am just miserable here. I'm congested. I'm coughing. How well do we connect in those moments? We're not able to connect with ourselves. I mean, all we feel really is that big nose. And
Mm-hmm.
if we're trying to connect with others, we're impaired. If we're trying to connect with the world, the third form of connection, our work, we're impaired. And if we're
Yeah.
trying to connect to something greater, it's also a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Like if somebody was to, yeah, so we need to first connect to ourselves. That is the nucleus. I made this chart where you have basically four concentric circles, and at the heart of it is
Mm-hmm.
connecting to ourselves because it informs all other connections. If we're not connected to ourselves, we will not connect to others, the world, and something greater.
Yeah.
The second one is others. Others includes, well, what we're doing right now. You and I are
Mm-hmm.
connecting, but it includes my
Yeah.
wife, it includes my kids, it includes my clients, it includes my pets. They are
Mm-hmm.
definitely others.
Yeah.
And the third is the world, which includes art, it includes work, it includes ancestry, it
Mm-hmm.
includes nature.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth is something greater. Something greater for a religious person means going, to a house of worship.
Yeah.
But to the most orthodox atheist, it
Yeah.
could be going to the Grand Canyon and saying, wow, and feeling like, wow, or getting into astronomy and thinking about our place in the universe and
Mm-hmm.
just how small we are, and
Yeah.
feeling a sense of awe, AWE, awe.
Yeah.
This concept of awe has been so meticulously researched. We've even
Mm-hmm.
found that when people are in an awe-struck state, saying, wow, like at the solar eclipse in 2017 in Oregon, we are less self-conscious. We're more likely to hug a
Mhm.
stranger.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
become more other focused and less self-focused. It's like
Yeah.
gratitude on steroids. And
Yeah.
here's the craziest piece. Research has shown that if you put neuroimaging on a person who's experiencing awe, the same receptors that are hit when we ingest psilocybin, which is the psychoactive component of magic mushrooms,
Yeah.
those receptors are the ones that are affected in a good way without any external requirement
Right.
ingested into our bodies, which may
Yes.
have legal or health side effects.
Right.
I'm not
And
particularly
also just not realistic to do on a daily basis when you're trying to like have a job and children.
totally. But when you say the word daily basis, one of the great things that my colleague Michael Amster has found is that we can have microdoses of awe. We can see
Yes.
little things. And I remember,
Absolutely.
I gotta tell you this, Katie, because you're gonna love this.
Yes. Okay.
When I was in college, I remember getting really excited about something. My nickname is Enthusiasm, as you know.
I saw in the book.
And
Yes, I love
so,
that.
yeah. So I was getting really excited about something the way I do. And, the young woman across the table from me said, wow, you really are easily impressed. And I said, I'm so glad I said this. I said, no, I'm actually not easily impressed. I have a high threshold for appreciation.
Yeah.
And well, my hope is that everybody can expand their threshold of appreciation. Oftentimes, people who appreciate things are considered dumb or easily impressed or whatever it is. But if we can microdose awe and see things through the eyes of a child, like watching pancake batter go from a liquid
Mm.
to a solid, as Michael Amster talks about, or seeing a sunset. This sunset that will happen tonight has never happened like it before.
Yeah.
It's also referred to as radical amazement by Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. The more of that we have, the more pro-social we become.
Yeah. Yes. And I firmly believe in microdosing all. I do it in my life all of the time. And I do find that what comes with that is something that I call, I don't think this is a term anyone else uses, but hyper presence.
Oh, I love that.
So,
Oh,
right?
that's
It's
so
like
cool.
you're hyper present. You're so present that you are maybe feeling the wind as it passes over your skin, or the hair stand up on your arm, or you're seeing the tiniest shift in colors during that sunset, just the tiniest little change. You are so engaged in that present moment. And it's a connection, right? It's a connection to that present moment. And it does inspire such awe. There's a quote, and you may know who said it. I don't know who says it. It's you can either live life as if everything is a miracle or as if nothing is a miracle. Have you heard this quote?
Yes, that's Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein. Okay.
A pretty good source.
Pretty good one. Pretty good one. I like him. He's a good guy. From
Really.
New
I mean,
Jersey, I'm pretty
the
sure,
hairstyle.
actually.
What's that?
From New Jersey, I'm pretty sure, right?
He was originally from he was originally from Germany, and he did come out, I believe, to Princeton. So yeah, he was living
Yes.
there, and I
Yes,
mean
he's living
the
there.
hairstyle alone. I mean that Jufro is so
I
great, and I'm
know.
allowed to say that since I am a member of the tribe. But yes, the hair alone, he had me at the
Yes.
hair. But then when you hear what he has to say, it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, amazing. And I love that quote because it just encapsulates what we're talking about, right? It really is like everything really is a miracle. We just get so accustomed to it that we become desensitized to it, and we no longer recognize it as the miracle it is, and the ability that that miracle has to help us feel connected to something bigger and to other people.
I love what you're saying, and I think that even you and I were talking offline about a limp handshake. It's just
Yes.
like many of us go through life literally existentially living life as if it is a limp handshake. And part of the entire purpose of this book is to revive people to their birthright. Our
Mhm.
birthright is to be excited about things. Some of us were not born on the enthusiastic or excited side of the bed, but we can all grow that,
Yeah.
because enthusiasm, I believe, has an etymological root, something akin to the breath of life. Could be wrong, but I know that enthusiasm is contagious. And why
Mhm.
not live life as if everything's a
Right.
miracle? We've got this
Yeah.
tiny little
Yeah.
moment in time that is not even a speck in time. That is oh,
Tiny little. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry about
We have
that.
a tiny little moment between this birth date and death date that is the dash.
Yeah.
Let's use this dash let's ensure that we are alive while we are living,
Yes.
because so many of us just kind of like another day, another dollar. Oh, today's hump day.
Yeah.
No, today's not hump day. Today's Wednesday, and
Right.
awesome. I'm living. I'm
Yes.
alive. Like, what if
Yes.
we were to look at it like that? I know we can't do that all the time. And I
Hmm.
know that we can't be connected all the time. There are times when we should dissociate.
Yeah.
When I'm giving blood, I hate giving blood. I give blood with just, dread every time. It's like, put out my arm and I need
Yeah.
to go somewhere else while they're
Hmm.
putting that thing in my arm. It's like, ugh, I don't want
Yeah.
to see it. I don't, I, and I, and dissociation at times is a great coping strategy, but too
Hmm.
many of us use it way too much.
Yeah.
And we need to be more present. And we also need to live intentionally. Like, who are the friends I'm going to choose? How
Yeah.
am I going to use this weekend? Time is most precious of non-renewable
Hmm.
resources. You can lose your
Hmm.
health and get it back. You can lose your money and get it back, but you can't lose your
Yeah.
time and get it back. And we are going through life many times as if we're sleepwalking. This
Yeah.
book is aiming to help people feel more vitality as they walk through life.
Yes. I 100% agree with you. And I think that our lives are unfortunately set up in a way that makes this disconnection very easy. We are very busy. We have our phones attached to us at all
We
times.
have what attached to us?
Our phones,
Oh my God.
you
Don't even get me
know,
started. Yes.
and our work, people often bring their work home with them. That's not a 40-hour work week, clock in, clock out, you're done with your work. People are responding to emails, they're taking calls. Even the way our children are raised these days, where their schedules are really intense, really busy schedules, that have them in my own home, trying to pull everyone together to the dinner table is like, I don't know, it's a really difficult task. To pull
Everything
everyone.
feels Herculean.
It really, really does. And so it requires a lot of intentionality to maintain these connections. It has to be something that you decide in your life that you want to prioritize, and then you figure out how to do that in your
So
life.
many things are in competition for attention.
Hmm.
So many things, more than ever. That movie, I know it's not necessarily about what you just described, but everything, everywhere, all at once. It can feel like that these days, and it requires us to take a breath, stop, and ask ourselves, like, what is the best use of my time at this moment? And I am
Yeah.
guilty of all of the things.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at my phone. It's can sometimes become a third in my relationship, as Dr. Stan Tatkin refers to. Anything that can form a wedge between you and your primary partner, they become thirds. It could be an animal, it could be an in-law, it could be a child, it could be work,
Hmm.
and it's
Hmm.
definitely often a phone. Um, just ask my wife. I sometimes really suck when it comes to this, and I'm a work in progress, and I will die a work in progress, and I
Yeah.
intend to continue to hit it hard and try to improve a
Yeah.
little bit every day. I know
Yeah.
that not every day is going to be a long bomb pass in football. Sometimes I just need to run a few yards,
Yeah.
or even a few inches just of progress. I love the idea of progress, not perfection.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so yeah, I'm committed to that. I fail.
Yeah.
I have to correct myself. And I talk about that in the book a lot, of, disconnecting and reconnecting.
Wow.
That's a big important part of the book. And the primary sources of the book are research are research based.
Yeah.
And if they are not, they are noted as either my clinical observations or my
Hmm.
personal experience.
Hmm.
Um, but or something that I learned from another credible source, not
Yeah.
hey, some guy standing out in front of 7-Eleven told me that this was a good tip and I'm going to put it in the book. It
Yeah.
was more
Yes.
of, these came from, credible thought leaders who've really
Yeah.
given things a lot of thought.
Yes. And I think I mentioned when we were offline that I'm a yoga teacher as well.
Love that.
And what I love about this book and about the study of psychology in general is that so much of it is just basically proving this 3,000-year-old tradition correct. It's like we have this 3,000-year-old wisdom, but there was no data behind it. I don't know how these people knew what they knew. But it's borne out in this book and all of this research that you have provided here. And I find that over and over. And I think that's incredibly fascinating. And this journey of what we would call healing in yoga, this imperfection, this practice that never ends until we draw our last breath. We will just continue to practice, and it is not a linear path. And we will sometimes succeed and we will sometimes fail, but we will always come back to our anchor, and we will always show ourselves compassion and move forward, right? Move forward on the path.
Katie, I love this idea. I think it's apocryphal, but it's allegedly comes from Mark Twain. The older I get, the smarter my parents were, and or perhaps we even become. I forget the exact quote, but it is amazing how these ancient traditions were so dialed in, and now research is corroborating what these
Yes.
ancient traditions are proposing.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. There's an ancient Jewish tradition of having 108 gratitudes per day. That's a lot. That's a lot of gratitude. But Thich Nhat Hanh, the great Zen Buddhist practitioner, said, when we have a sore throat, we become enlightened because we become aware of just how good it feels to not have a sore throat.
Yes.
And there is even a Jewish prayer for successfully going to the bathroom. And for
I need that
anybody
one.
was that?
I need that one.
Isn't that hilarious? I mean, hilarious and brilliant, because anybody who's experienced any difficulties in that
Yes.
room knows, oh my
Yes.
gosh, you know what? We can't necessarily take that for granted. There's
Yeah.
so many things that have to go right. I just drove my son to school this morning. For this car to have worked is incredible. It's a miracle unto itself. For me to have woken up, for my autonomic nervous system to have done its work
Mhm.
while I was asleep.
Yeah.
Nobody really thinks about that,
Yeah.
but we should. It's pretty incredible
Yeah.
that the autonomic nervous system supported us and said, you know what, I'm going to go offline. You do the work. And it does. Incredible.
And it's incredible. And every single thing that functions inside and outside of our bodies without our awareness or our input or our effort is a miracle. And we don't think about it. We really don't. And when you start to, it's very easy to enter awe. When you really start thinking about it, it's
100%.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
how much more connected do you feel as you're even just articulating that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to get to a couple of things. So, going back to being connected to yourself, you talk about in the book how you grew up with undiagnosed ADHD and dyslexia. And so, your path to where you are today was windy and long and filled with, you know, challenging feelings about yourself. So how do we help our kids, right? How do we help our
Okay.
kids to see that they are always, have always, and will always be enough exactly as they are?
Let's talk about that for a second, because one of the things that has, first of all, I'm not a hater of tech. I love tech, but I want us to use tech. I don't want tech to use us.
Mm-hmm,
But one of
mm-hmm,
the things that we need to do with our children is model for them that they are important. We can't just say you're important, give them a
mm-hmm,
birthday card, you're the most important thing. It might be aspirational and true that they are
mm-hmm.
the most important thing, but we don't necessarily deliver on that idea, and they are paying attention.
Yeah,
So if we're on our phones while they're talking to us, no, I'm fine. I'm just multitasking. I can hear you.
yeah.
They don't feel really heard. We got to put down the phone. We got to put down the remote control of the TV when they come in
Mm-hmm,
the room. I mentioned earlier Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. I heard his daughter Susanna, who is a professor at Brown University, describe him as a man who would be so deeply immersed in his work, but if she came into his study, he would turn the chair and look at her and listen and give
mm-hmm,
her his full attention.
yeah,
We weren't trained on how to do that.
mm-hmm,
I have a focusing exercise that I use that I learned in improv, where basically, unfortunately, I can't really do it very easily via a podcast, but imagine that you're hearing your voice as I'm speaking my words, and your voice is mimicking my words as I
yeah,
say them. You could be really exhausted. It's called mirroring. It's something I learned from Sue Walden, my great improv teacher out in San
Mhm.
Francisco. And I use this all the time when my sons are telling me something that might not be all that stimulating for me.
Mhm.
Like they might be into something, and it's my
Yeah.
job to pay as much attention as I possibly can
Mhm.
and to show interest in what they're saying, even if I'm ostensibly not interested. Because they are interested, I need to join them. And guess what? They will feel felt. And I might even find myself interested in something I didn't think I could be interested in.
Yeah.
So it's less about what we say with our children. It's more about how we comport ourselves. It's more about what we do with our kids.
Yeah.
And that's what will, I believe, foster greater self regard.
Mhm.
I think teaching our children how we've struggled with something and maybe how we've used a skill to overcome that. Self
Yeah.
compassion is one of the greats. Talking to ourselves as we talk to
Yeah.
friends. It's not some new agey idea. The Navy SEALs use it and they get better and faster results. Um, and some other things that we can do. Let's even just go back to the phone. I've heard it suggested that part of the reason that ADHD has become so much more prevalent is because we're not paying attention to our children,
Mm.
and they don't learn how to regulate their emotions. They don't learn how to pay attention to a thing. We're basically modeling ADHD like behaviors. Now, my
Mm.
diagnosis was real, and I think that many diagnoses are quite real.
Mhm.
I'm not saying that they're not, but I would suggest that things would be profoundly ameliorated if we paid more attention to our children
Yeah.
and really demonstrated that not just saying I love you, it's not just an emotion. It is, to borrow from Eric Fromm, who wrote The Art of Loving, it is a discipline, it is a daily
Mhm.
practice. It is
Mhm.
overriding the things that we don't want to do. Like this morning, it's raining. I wanted to get in a longer workout. My son needed a ride to school. He was not going to be taking his bike. He takes his bike every day, but he
Yeah.
was not. I mean, it was pouring, and thank God because
Yeah.
California needs that like nothing else.
Yeah.
But one of the things I try to inculcate with my children is love is not just a feeling. It is
Yeah.
the discipline of overriding something that you might not want to do, but you do it anyway because you love the person and they are
Mhm.
more important.
Yeah. And really you're getting at two things actually, because you're talking about how, they can feel worthy and innately worthy, but also you're fostering a connection with your child, which is really important and something that a lot of parents are struggling with these days. And it's the example you're giving is so funny because my son really loves video games. We really have to it's his passion. But we have to, have very specific rules around it and all this jazz. And I could not, when I tell you I could not care less, literally, it's probably the least interesting thing to me on the planet. But it is my discipline to listen to him as he talks about it, ask him questions. This morning, he wanted a book that is related to a video game, helping him to find the book, talking about money and like what the book costs. And, we did a whole finance situation. He had a delayed opening. It was icy here. So he was home for a couple of hours this morning, didn't go to school as usual. And so it is a constant discipline, but it is one that I know that he values. I know he recognizes that I am the same way. Anything that I'm doing, unless I'm, of course, in the middle of cooking and I can't, I can't stop, but anything that I can stop, when my children enter the room, it is stopped and there's eye contact and there's conversation until they are ready to be done. Not until I'm ready to be done, until they are ready to be done.
Mm,
Um,
beautiful.
and I really do think it's valuable, but there's also culture. And culture tells us a lot of things, and kids are very susceptible to it. I mean, my daughter, I've mentioned offline, she's had some learning challenges, and she is constantly feeling less than her peers because of these challenges, despite how many times I try to reinforce that you just learn differently and the school system is not designed for your type of learning. It doesn't mean that you aren't capable. It doesn't mean that you aren't going to be successful. It doesn't mean you don't have special gifts and talents. It's a really hard, and that coming back to the connection to self, I feel like that can cause a disconnection from self to feel that way.
yeah, a big part of the way this book was born was I felt a similar thing to your daughter. I felt a profound disconnection from myself. And I don't know if you remember that song by The Cure, Why Can't I Be You? I
Mm.
That was my theme song. I just wanted to be anybody else but me. I
Yeah.
thought I had nothing. I thought I was bereft of any real meaningful gifts. And it took me years to find my way because I was so profoundly lost. So this book on connection, I mean, it's deeply meaningful to me. And I'm hoping to save people from having that feeling that I had as
Yeah.
much as possible. I wasn't diagnosed with my ADHD until I was 27, got a hold of it. Over the next 5 years, I put myself through what I call myself and, self-created Navy Buds training through my own version of executive coaching, which was not a thing
Yeah.
back then, or
Yeah.
executive functioning coaching is what trying to get but I just knew
Yeah.
I couldn't be a father one day and having these traits of just, you know, everything getting past me.
Yeah.
And so I would really ask parents also to do one other thing, have, just as you said, have more meaningful conversations, not just about goal setting and getting,
Mhm.
into whatever school, blah, blah,
Right.
but to talk about like the real wisdom based things of like, what do you think is important in life? Thinking about
Yeah.
the bigger questions. Kalina Silverman was on my podcast. She wrote a book called Big Talk, and it's the antidote to small talk. Love her and love her ideas. And the quality of our questions does inform the quality of our lives. And asking just how was your day? Not a great question,
Yeah.
but asking somebody, hey, what's really important to you?
Yeah.
What is something you want to make sure you do before you die? I'm not
Mhm.
suggesting that you ask children that. That might be a little morbid, but the rosebud thorn exercise,
Yeah.
if you're familiar with it, where you
Yes.
talk about
Yes.
something, the rose, something that was good that happened today, the bud, I learned, here's something I learned today. And modeling that parents are still learning every day is amazing.
Yeah.
And the thorn is something that hurt today.
Yes. I
It's,
love
I
that.
believe it's done in the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts. And it's just a practice that my family uses most nights. Like at some
Yeah.
point, we're going to be talking about gratitudes and the rosebud and thorn, and it
Yes.
really makes for better conversations. If you can imagine
Yeah.
Wikipedia, there are hyperlinks through these
Right.
conversations that create far better glue. And I would say we
Yeah.
are a much more cohesive family as a result of the rosebud thorn and, asking big talk questions at the dinner
Yeah.
table, since that is
Yes.
one of the few places where we actually converge.
Yeah. So we've always done what's called high low, which means, something that is really great that
That's
happened,
good.
something that's really challenging. But I am switching to Rosebud Thorn because I like it. I think it's better. I think it will, like you're saying, like more deeper conversations will come out of that than the high lows. We're switching. And I ordered the big talk card. So
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
yes.
They are so
Yes.
freaking good. And
I,
Kalina hit it out of the park. And one thing I love about the bud in the middle is it really helps show Carol Dweck's work of the growth mindset. She's out of Stanford. She wrote about
Mhm.
growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. The idea that my father, as I was telling you offline, who was not a language person, decided at 59, can't teach old dogs new tricks. Not true. He has demonstrated that a non-language person can still become fluent enough in Spanish at starting at 59. He's now 85. His Spanish not gorgeous, but functional. He is it
Yes.
is it's intelligible, and
Yeah.
he's able to get his points across at a fairly high level, I would add.
Yeah.
Accent not awesome. Grammar pretty much not great, but totally makes sense.
Yes, which is amazing. It is an amazing. And I think that growth mindset is so important throughout life. I think it helps in longevity and in really, living a long, not just a long life, but a long, healthy, fulfilling life.
If you were to ask my father, who is one of my great role models, who's taught me so much throughout life, what one of his favorite and proudest achievements is, it would be doing that. And he would also corroborate the idea that the quality of his years and probably the quantity of his years have been vastly improved by his hitting it hard, constantly learning. One of the things that we see with the elderly as they retire
Mhm.
is that they often have this kind of closing down, occlusion, maybe even hardening process. And one of the things that we need is less rigidity, more flexibility. You know this as a yoga practitioner. We need this in our brains. There does seem to be some promise that it can even help reduce the effects or the likelihood of certain types of cognitive decline by hitting it hard and learning new things. The brain needs to be challenged. The body
Yeah.
needs to be challenged. Use it or lose it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know you have to go.
I
If you
do.
have you have like 4 minutes.
I've got like 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. I did want to mention I think it's called the VIA questionnaire.
Oh,
You were in
wow.
there.
Good call. Good call.
Yeah. So what I do as a Dharma coach, right? So I help people discover, uncover what their soul's purpose is and how they want to express it in this world. And I think that it is a big part of feeling connected to self, connected to the world, connected to others, connected to something bigger than ourselves. And so you mentioned purpose in your book as a source of connection, and you talk about
Yes.
this VIA. I'm saying that right? VIA
Yep.
questionnaire.
VIA, values in action.
Yes. And I thought it was great. I'm going to highly recommend that everybody listening go Google it and do it, because it really can bring a lot of clarity to who you are and what's really meaningful to you. But how would how important do you think purpose is
Oh,
in feeling connected in life?
so we're not just Homo sapiens, we are Homo symbolicus. We are creatures that seek meaning in life. That comes from
Mhm.
Michael Mead. I love that idea of us being Homo symbolicus. One of the most cited books on the planet by the smartest people is Man's Search for Meaning. Now,
Mhm.
of course, it was written in the 60s. The gender might be changed. It might be just called People's Search for Meaning. But Viktor Frankl hit it out of the park, and he's connected with people. He died a while ago, but his ideas live on. We are meaning based creatures. Purpose is at the heart of everything,
Yeah.
and uh, there's even a great song about purpose in Avenue Q, which is a whole other thing. Which, if those of you familiar with this puppet musical, which is beyond hilarious, it's kind of like a naughty Sesame Street, um, created by the great Robert Lopez,
I'm
who
gonna need to see this now.
you can just listen to the soundtrack. But if it ever comes to your town, definitely see it.
Okay.
But purpose is at the heart of everything. We need, I mean, something to wake up in the morning for. We need something to grow as a great, and seem to be quoting a lot of rabbis. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov once said that what's the purpose of next year if we don't plan to improve?
Mhm.
And so we need something to hit hard, something that's uniquely meaningful to us. We all have our own individual connection formulas. What might work for you might not work for me. And there might be some similarities, but each of us has individualized connection formulas. And this book is meant to help you find yours.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Adam. I could talk to you forever.
Aww.
I really appreciate you being here, and I really, really appreciate this beautiful gift of this book to the world. It's just wonderful, and I'm going to tell everybody I know about it.
Well, Katie Farinas, I loved being with you. This has been one of the most truly connected conversations I've had via Zoom. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing and
Of
having me
course.
on your wonderful podcast.
It was absolutely my pleasure. And have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I truly could have kept Adam on this Zoom call for another 2 hours just discussing this book, never mind things outside of this book. I love when my guests just make my job easy and give you so many options for mindfulness exercises for the week. I will pull out two that we talked about. I'll give you a few more in the newsletter if you receive the newsletter, but the one is to take that VIA values questionnaire to help determine your own values. I'll put the link in the show notes. But I think it's a beautiful way of starting to connect to yourself, starting to see what's really matters to you, what's really important to you. And it's a guide on this journey. So if you're looking for more connection in your life and you're looking to connect to yourself, or you're looking to connect to your purpose, or you're looking to connect to something bigger than yourself, you have to know what you value. You have to know that thing or those things that without them, life just doesn't feel meaningful. And once you clarify what that is, then you can start moving towards it, because until we know what it is, we can't move towards it. And we're just kind of lost groping around in the dark. This is going to provide a lot of clarity for you on what is your reason for being? What is your reason for waking up in the morning, for getting through the hard stuff in life? What is going to bring you the most joy and happiness and fulfillment in your life? So I highly, highly encourage you take that survey. And then secondly, I would just offer up the question to yourself. So Adam breaks down connection into 4 parts: connecting to yourself, connecting to others, connecting to the world, and to connecting to something greater. And if you get the book, you'll see that under each of those 4 headings are subheadings. For example, connecting to others is your significant other, your family, your children, friends, animals. Connecting to the world is through work, community, art and inspiration, nature, and ancestry and tradition. So he does that for each of the 4 parts. But I would just invite you to think about, when you hear those 4 main categories, which one jumps out at you as something that you feel like you are yearning for, something that, when you hear it, there's a little lurch in your chest, or there's a little flap in your belly, there's a little something in your mind that you attach to, that you feel like, that's the area that's missing for me. And then once you identify it, and maybe it'll take, some journaling on it or some meditating on it, thinking about ways in which you can increase your connection in that area. Now, you can always get Adam's book. I will also put the link to the book in the show notes. He's going to give you ideas in this book. So if you get the book, he will lay it out there for you and give you lots of suggestions. But if not, then maybe thinking on your own about how you would like to deepen your connection in that area of your life. All right, guys, have a wonderful rest of your week. I will see you next week, and I hope that you find deep and meaningful connection in your lives. That is really one of the main reasons that I do this show, so that you can connect deeply to yourself. As Adam and I mentioned, that is the foundation for all other forms of connection, and it truly is my motivation. One of the big motivations for doing this show is to help you connect to yourself, so that you can create these other connections and have a life that feels joyous, meaningful, purposeful, and peaceful. So I hope I'm doing that for you. I love you all. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for joining me on this journey of self-discovery here at the Midlife Purpose Project. I hope today's conversation sparked something deep inside of you, made you laugh, or reminded you that you are never alone. Remember, it's never too late to reconnect with your soul's purpose and live a life of meaning. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and review the show, or share it with someone who could use a little inspiration. It really helps the show reach more women and helps me keep the content ad-free. Join me next time as we continue to explore what it means to live with purpose in midlife.